Intro song done. On Deaf and on Discord done. And transition done. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Neon Podcast. We're at 111, and joining me today. I was gonna say per usual. I'm like, you're not a usual. This is only your second episode on. Is Mxwcat. Hi, Cat.
Could be
You could be a usual if you wanted to, if you really tried.
I just gotta keep asking you to be on this show.
You
I
could.
think it's a show.
You could. Yeah, there's a show. It's not a show. It's a video. It's a stream. It's whatever you want it to be. All right, my stream is a wonderland. just like my body. My body is a wonderland.
You're okay.
Yeah. What do you mean? Okay. What do you mean? Well, it's just like the song, you know?
Oh, that's a song. Okay, I was like,
come on, I know you should know this song. Who doesn't know this song? My body is a wonderland. No. All right. Well. All right. Moving on. Moving on. Anyways, guess I'm surprised. Maybe I don't sing it that well, but I'm gonna save that later. Body is a wonderland. Okay. Anyways, how are you doing today, Kat? Welcome back to the podcast. Second time on. How are you?
Pretty good. I recently found out that my fiance will be getting out of the military soon, so we're gonna be making a big move back to Las Vegas. So
ooh, that sounds very nice. Moving back to Vegas. When is how soon is soon?
Like 2 months. So we're pretty much like packing everything, and the military is going to move us. So we're pretty excited to be back on the West Coast. I'm sick of the East Coast.
Oh man, sick of the East Coast. What do you mean? What's so wrong about the East Coast, Kat? Please tell me, a person from the West Coast, what's so bad about the East Coast?
The memes are outdated. Like, I cannot tell you enough how many times, like, from the West Coast, right? So everybody on my social media is from the West Coast, or it's West Coast influence, right? So, like, I'm learning all of these trends, these terms, and then the East Coast learns about it maybe 4 or 5 months later. So, like,
wait, what?
we're
That's a big ass delay. What the hell?
It is like the word shrimp. We've talked about this before, you know?
Yeah,
like,
right.
But from my understanding, when I mentioned the word like shrimp in 2019, it did not become a word on the East Coast until like 2020. I promise you. Like, I don't know what the delay is when it comes to these, like, I don't know, when it comes to the trends and stuff, but it's pretty bad.
Right. I mean, also, given you're in like Virginia right now, it's not like you're in a cultural hub like, let's say, New York or Chicago kind of East Coast. What is even in Virginia? To be honest,
Yeah.
like, what? Maybe that's your delay. Maybe it's not the entire East Coast. Maybe it's just a you thing.
You know, actually, that's actually a really good point, because, you know, so different parts of Virginia have like different flavors. And what I mean by that is, like, I didn't know there was a whole Asian community in Virginia,
Mhm.
because I was in, like, I don't know how to say it properly, but I say like Norfolk. So, like, I lived there for like a year and a half. And then in Virginia Beach, like deep in Virginia Beach, there's like a huge Filipino community. But these are the Filipinos that like don't like boba. They like Starbucks. Like, it I don't know, because the boba is not really good here. So, and the sushi is not good here. So, like, it's, in my opinion.
I would be surprised if you had good sushi, to be honest, but
But you would think, like, since we're closer to the ocean, that we would have better fish, right?
I
To cook?
mean, all the good fish comes from the Pacific, though. all the Atlantic has is like everything in a shell, and then maybe a little bit of salmon, and then like white white meat fish like trout. You know,
Yeah.
it's not a big variety of going on there in the Atlantic Ocean for sushi in particular. So, but
You know,
mm-hmm.
no, like speaking of sushi, I went to a sushi restaurant yesterday,
Uh
and
huh.
you know what the rainbow roll is, right?
Yeah.
So, are you used to the rainbow roll being like spicy?
No. Why the hell would it be spicy?
That okay, that's what I'm saying. So
Wait
I
the hell.
I ordered the rainbow roll, and I mean, people make fun of me for it, but I can't take spicy. Like I don't like spicy. I don't put any wasabi on anything, right? I
Okay.
the closest I'll get to like spicy is like maybe like sriracha and pho, but like that's it. But I took a bite out of like one of the rolls, right? And it was the
Uh
red
huh.
one, with the red fish on top. Okay, whatever. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I went and ate it, right? And when I tell you that for a split second, it felt like I was fucking OC sprayed, I was like, why does it feel like hotness coming out of my nose and through my eyes? And like I made like this face and my whole body like turned red. And then my fiance was like, "What's wrong?" And I was just like, "Is there wasabi like hidden under this fish? Like what's going on?" And he tried it too, and he's Korean. And he's like, "Oh shit, like this shit's spicy." And I was like, "Rainbow rolls are not supposed to be spicy like this."
Yeah, that's not a that's not a thing at all. I've never had a spicy rainbow roll in my life. And sometimes I like to default to the rainbow roll because usually that's like one of the safer rolls. But why was it actually wasabi or what?
I feel like what they did was it almost felt like they how do I explain this? You know when you like put the rice together with your hands? It's like
Uh-huh.
they put wasabi in the rice and then like, kind of smashed it with their hands and then rolled it into the circle because you can't
Oh.
see it. So like when I was looking at it, I even took the whole fish off and I was just like looking at the rice itself and I was like, it has to be inside here. Like there's no way because this is straight up fucking wasabi.
Right, right. So it's basically essence of wasabi, but it was all over the roll basically. Oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
jeez.
I never I don't know, cause like, when I've tried wasabi, like, I usually skim it, like, I'll have, like, a tiny bit of it because I don't like spicy, right? But,
Right.
like, it shot through my nose. Like in the vape picture, right? Like,
Mhm.
imagine that, but it's coming out of your eyes and
Oh
your
my
nose.
god. Oh my god. That's actually really funny. Jeez. So like so you've never built like a spice tolerance in your life or you just didn't choose to or what's up with you
You
and spice?
I don't know how to explain it, like, I have had spicy, like, I've never had an issue, but, like, when I mention spicy, like, I'm not talking like I can eat Takis, I can eat hot Cheetos,
Right.
have sriracha and stuff, but when it comes to, like, the spicy, I don't know, what's something that's, like, spicy? Because I'm not familiar with spicy
So
foods.
let's do you know Korean food, right? The spicy fish cake?
Oh, oh,
The tteokbokki?
yeah, like, okay, so that's fine, right? But if the
Uh-huh.
oh, okay, here's something perfect. So, like, wings, right? So I
Okay.
can have, like, spicy, like, kinda like the one above mild, but if it's, like, hot or, like, this is, like, meant to like, everything about this meal is supposed to be, like, super hot, then I can't do it. Because it's like, to me, I wanna enjoy the food, not cry while I'm eating it, because I don't understand how people eat spicy food. Like, so if you like spicy food, right? Like, do you feel any pain? Or you know what I mean? Like, when you
Like
eat it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, I feel like if you can do like tteokbokki, I feel like that's pretty average spice, right? Like, speaking on of like a regular person, because I feel like not everyone will eat that kind of thing to begin with. But that's just like me seeing like a bar with like my friends and people I eat with. But anyways, for me, when I eat something purposely made to be spicy hot, sure I'll feel the pain a little bit, but I think it's because I've gotten I've built my tolerance over the past couple of years and stuff that for me I sort of ignore it and I try to focus more on the flavor rather, and then I'm
Uh-huh.
just like, and then I'll just start sweating because it's hot. It's I start sweating because I feel hot, right? It's not like necessarily a pain thing, because 2 weeks ago I did like the spicy food challenge for the last episode on the podcast, right? But there's a certain level between spice and flavor. If there's no
Mhm.
flavor, then it's just pain. But if there's flavor, then I can tolerate the spice. That's what makes it bearable. So, I mean, it really depends. Wings, there's usually flavor because it's chicken, right? But I usually just
Like,
tolerate it. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna eat now.
see, I don't that's the thing. I don't know what it is with me, but like I when even if something's like super flavorful, right? But like say, oh, this is like a spicy meal, right? Because it's so hot, I don't focus on any kind of flavor. Like I
Ah,
Yeah, so that's why I mean, I would like to indulge in spicy foods. Like the only time you'll ever see me eat something that's actually like spicy is if like, I have congestion, like a sinus congestion.
mm-hmm.
Congestion. Congestion.
Congestion.
But other than that, like you won't ever see me, you know, eat eat spicy food willingly. Like I
Okay,
chose to.
got it. That's fine. I mean, I think for me is because like this is how I grew up with spice, right? Because like I never liked hot Cheetos or Takis or even just like those quote unquote hot chips, right? I didn't like it as a kid, but
Mhm.
I was like spicy food. I tended to avoid that too, but then I slowly just looked like, man, that food just looks really good. So I just started eating it, and I'm like, okay, it's not bad, not bad, and I just slowly built the tolerance. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just like a fatty who just wants to eat all the good looking food. So I decided to build my spice tolerance for the sake of being able to eat more food.
So, okay, wait. So then to ask you, right?
Uh huh.
So my little sister is actually the opposite from you. Like, it doesn't matter what the food looks like. It can look like complete crap. Like the presentation can look like ugly, but if she smells it and she doesn't like the smell, then she won't eat it.
Oh,
Are you
okay.
are you like that too? Because there's some Filipino foods that are like kind of stinky. You know what I mean? But it tastes good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I feel like that's also just a thing of like growing up also because I also used to be like that where it's like, oh, if it didn't smell good, I didn't really like it. Um or even bother to try it. That's also just like a kid thing, right? It's like, oh, danger. It doesn't smell
Uh
good.
huh.
But for me, unless it's like really, really bad, I think I would at least try it. So there's this. Do you know what natto is?
Natto.
Yeah, like fermented soybean.
No. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So me and my siblings, we had a bet, right? Like who could lose more weight in a month kind of challenge.
Mhm.
And then the loser had to eat natto because natto like it just the ones that we had basically just smelled like foot and it was pretty bad. And the first time we tried it, like I ate it, but it was not good. So that's why we made a bet on it. But smell is one thing, and if it still tastes good afterwards, I'll keep eating it. But you know, it's hard for me to say if it smells bad, would I immediately deny it? Or if it looks bad, I don't know. I still have to
Uh-huh.
try it. So,
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. Like, I'm one to try everything at least, because I've never really been picky. That's why, like, spice is not too big of a deal. I just won't choose to do it.
right.
But like it kind of makes me laugh. Like my little sister is like 18 now, right? So
Hmm.
like we went to a restaurant and every time like she's trying something new, she'll take like a spoonful of it and like put it to her nose. And then my parents would like just fucking eat it. And she's like, "Well, I got to see if it smells good."
I mean, Yeah, maybe not to that extent. I'm just like, I don't bring a spoonful of food to my nose. I'll do like, that scientific lab should be like, I'll waft that towards my nose if it, if I want to smell it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna eat it normally, right? But
Yeah.
I'm not that critical of, of smelling something and like, even plating something, visually appealing. I'll still eat it, especially if I ordered it. Like if it's like, let's say you're at a party, right? Let's say like someone's family party or a house party, and you have some dish that you don't recognize or you don't know. So I'm like, and then you smell it, I'm like, maybe I'll avoid it, maybe I'll try it. Who knows? There's a lot of other food. But if I'm at a restaurant and I purposely chose that thing, I feel like I'm not gonna bother smelling it or judge it uh
Mhm.
visually unless I paid a lot of money for it, because I feel like,
Yeah.
because if I'm ordering it, like, usually I get what I'm expecting that I ordered, so
Yeah.
nothing really surprises me at this point anymore.
Foods are weird, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was just
yeah.
thinking about all these like different foods because like, you know, so if we're talking about um like, if you buy it, then you expect it, to be a certain way, so you're gonna eat it anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't understand how gourmet, how the portions are so small, right?
Hmm.
But apparently it tastes really good. But in my opinion, I think you're mostly just paying for the presentation of the food rather than like the quality of it. I don't know.
Well, I think it goes a little bit both ways, because obviously, like, the presentation is one thing, but I think you're also paying for the quality of ingredients, because it's like,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, because it's like when you look at something, you're like, when it's cooked, right? Sometimes you can't tell the difference between, let's say, a fucking like, as an example, a regular ass carrot you can get at a supermarket versus like some high end carrot with specific vitamins that make it taste different. Like, you can't tell that kind of thing visually, or you won't be able to tell until you actually eat it. Or if you're like your sister, put it up straight up to your nose and start smelling that, you know? But so there's that thing to it. And the other thing is well, that's usually the majority of the price, right? Like the quality of ingredients. But the other
Mhm.
is kind of goes hand in hand with presentation, but it's like the preparation of said high quality ingredients, because it's like you can get high quality ingredients and try and throw it to a dish, but if you don't know what you're doing with said ingredients, it's not gonna work,
Yeah.
so I mean, like, you still have to pay for someone's skill to know what they're doing for at least gourmet stuff, right? Like, let's say you go to like a regular like family restaurant and you're paying like $30 for a dish. Usually you're getting like a good amount portion, right? But if you pay like $30 for like a much smaller dish, I feel like I would expect something at least better tasting if I'm getting a smaller
Yeah.
portion, generally speaking, not just presentation wise. So yeah, that's my take, because I've only gotten gourmet food a couple times here and there, and it just really depends. But so far, I haven't had too many gourmet experiences that are like, yeah, this wasn't worth it, or yeah, this was shit. So uh yeah, I'm pretty okay with stuff like that now as an adult anyways.
Yeah. No, definitely. I don't even like go out anymore unless like I'm going to a high-end restaurant. I just think because being born in Las Vegas, like I naturally have high standards when it comes to going out and spending money on food because, I mean, we Filipinos, every time we go to a Filipino restaurant, we're like, I can cook this better.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
so like I always, even when I like came here to Virginia, like there are some good hole in the wall places, but I refuse to spend money anywhere, not even just like restaurants, unless it's like high end, because if I'm going to go out, rather than just staying home and being able to do those things on my own, then like
Right.
I'd rather experience it. I don't know, experience something that I wouldn't be able to do for myself, if that makes sense.
No, I get that. I get that. But like, maybe it's because I grew up like the complete opposite of you, right? Like, I grew up in some suburb in LA County, right? And
Oh,
I
wow.
grew up um like lower middle class, so I didn't get to try too many different foods, or let alone nice foods growing up, right? So
Mhm.
for me, when I got to college, in the Bay Area, and then, as an adult graduating school and having my own money to try out nicer places, I'm just like, I get to experience a lot of new things for the first time. So I guess it's different because you
Oh.
you you grew up
Oh.
with that high bar, right? So you have that standard for everything. For me, my expectation is, unless I'm going to a place specifically because everyone else hyped it up, right? Like I saw it
Mhm.
on the internet, they're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing," right? But if I'm going somewhere where I haven't seen too many people talk about, but it's like it's supposed to be like higher end or nicer, I'll go into with like a much lower expectation, and if I get surprised, then I get surprised. I'm like, oh man, this is great. So that's also just me, because I'm just like, oh, I get to try something nice. So
Yeah. But the weird thing is, like, so believe it or not, like, I grew up, I wouldn't say lower middle class, but just like maybe like right at middle class. And the thing is, though, like, what I mean by at home, like, I grew up eating like the canned foods like Spam, Vienna
same.
sausage,
Mm-hmm.
and then like corned beef.
Mm-hmm.
But like, when I went out, like, I guess because the places look so shiny and kinda, like, in your face with, the slot machines, and mostly the restaurants are in, like, the casinos and stuff, like, that's what I compare other things to, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't mind eating, like, for instance, when I was paying 1,200 a month, only making $700 every 2 weeks,
Uh-huh.
like, I really had to, like, make the 99-cent ramens and, like,
Right. 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 Right.
stack up on, like, the canned foods, right? But, like, when I went out, for some reason, I was just like, "Well, I saved up a lot of money, and I'm gonna, like, go to this 4 or 5-star restaurant," and, like, the comparison that I would make to whatever restaurant I was going to was based off of, like, what I would see in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's weird.
yeah. I mean, like, but still, you still had that knowledge prior going into
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like I never had that kind of prior knowledge. I'm like, ooh, I'm just like, ooh, let's try. I get pleasantly surprised, but then even with my expectations being slightly lower from when I go to a nicer spot, if a place is shit, I'm just like, man, this place is shit. you know
Yeah.
like regardless of whether it's supposed to be high end or not, if I don't like it, dude, and then I don't like it. So I mean, that's a whole nother food story.
Yeah, no, I just think that's awesome because, like, I sometimes wish that I was oblivious to these things, and,
Yeah.
like, didn't have such high standards because, like, for instance, like, I introduced, like, my fiance to Vegas because he grew up in Texas,
Hmm.
and then the only time he traveled was, like, in the military. So, like, when he was in Vegas, I'm over here walking past all these slot machines, these girls dancing on tables, like, people, like, being really loud and betting and stuff, and I'm, like, walking really fast, and I turned around, he's like, "Whoa, shiny," and I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, this is normal, like, keep walking," and he's just like, "No, everything's so cool. This is amazing." And, like, I guess, like, being odd at everything around you, like the scenery, like, sitting down at any restaurant at that point is just like the food is like 10 times better because, like, I'm not used to seeing all this stuff, and I wish I had that, you know?
Right, right. So it's like it's not even just the food; it's like the environment, the ambiance, and just everything that like cumulatively gets to that eating experience type of thing too, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and, like, I sometimes wish that, like, I didn't go to the Strip, because, like, if you talk to every Vegas local, they're like, "Okay, when you visit, we don't wanna go to the Strip. Like, we can go everywhere else except the Strip," because the Strip is so, like, to us, it's like, okay, it's a tourist spot, whatever, right? But, like, I don't know, it's like we just got used to all of the extravagant stuff. That's why there's always things, like, constantly being built, but then it just gets old to us really fast.
Right. Like been there, done that. Fuck it, what's new? Type of shit.
Mhm.
No, I get that. I get that. I think that's the same thing for us, like, because I'm in LA, And
Yeah.
sure I'm not in like LA proper. I'm not in downtown. I'm not in Cape Town, Little Tokyo, and all that stuff. I'm in the suburbs, right? And there's
Mhm.
always something new opening up, like a chain that's popular from a different part of the US, or something opening from Asia. And like, same thing for, it was like we try it once or twice and you're like, all right, hype's died down, we're over this kind of thing, what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like, fucking Raising Canes.
Yes.
Yeah. So man, when Raising Canes fucking opened up here in SoCal, that shit, like a couple of years ago, that shit was popping, right?
Mhm.
Everyone in the area, and they started making new branches and in different cities. We were like, oh yeah, we're gonna go Raising Canes. That shit's so good. And then the more we ate it, we were just like, yeah, we're fucking over Raising Canes, dude. It's just chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But like the same thing is like the things that at least me and my friends, because we realized after things that get talked about because of the hype, is we purposely try to find more hole in the wall spots when we try to go out to especially for food. We try to get more hole in the wall joints and uh dive restaurants, dive bars. So, and it keeps things exciting, at least for me and my friend group. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, for you, right? Because like you said, you don't take people to the strip. Where do you take people then?
I mean, oh, excuse me. I
You good?
I had like food in my mouth. Um, I think that what people don't really realize is like the strip is about maybe like 2, 3, maybe in 4 miles at most, like long in a circle, basically.
Right.
Like it doesn't take that long to drive through it. And like they forget that, we have like a lot of cool like for instance, Red Rock, right? So you can go hiking and you can go to wow, is it really just a strip? Hold on. Trying to think about it. Like, oh, there's a pinball uh Hall of Fame, I think, or museum. Like there are things you can do outside of the strip, and plus you can if you were to travel to different parts like Henderson, Summerlin, like it's almost like it's a different like you're in a different place. Like so Las Vegas, right? If you were to go more, I want to say south, I think, or southwest, like that's like
Okay.
where Henderson is, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
another city. And there's literally like trees and grass, and you're like, wait, am I still in the desert? Like there's just so
Ah.
much, to see in Nevada, right? And it's not just the strip. I just feel like the strip is where you lose your money and then you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah, because it's like, that's like the glitz and glamour of like Vegas, right? It's like it's specifically known, for the strip, the casino, the lights, as a tourist, right? If you're not from Vegas, that's all you know about Vegas, right? Or if you don't know any friends from that area, it's also just it's just a caricature of what people think it is, right? Versus what is actually out there, type of thing. So I mean,
Yeah.
right, right. It makes sense. It's like that's what people think like LA is, right? LA is like, oh, it's all about the Hollywood movie stars. Oh, do you go surfing? It's the same type of same type of vibe where
Mhm.
people like who aren't, not even just from the area, but like maybe even outside of the greater, state or even the country, right? Let's say someone from like the Midwest who doesn't care about the West Coast. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're from
Mhm.
LA, so you must see movie stars all the time." I'm like, "No, the fuck, that's not true." um,
Yeah.
so it's like, they just base it what the overall common depiction of said city is, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Seattle is just a fish market and the Space Needle. Nothing else is important in Seattle, dude.
Fair, fair.
Like, but like, I talk to my friends who go to Seattle. They fucking love Seattle when it's not raining.
Oh.
So, that's what all I think about Seattle is like Seattle, coffee, Space Needle, and the fish market. That's all I know about Seattle. But everyone who goes there fucking loves it, dude. As a tourist, I'm just
Yeah.
like, and like I had a couple friends that lived there for a couple months. I'm like, dude, that's sick. And they tell me about their stories. I'm like, dude, I can't wait to travel and visit up there in Seattle one day. So I mean, that was like one of the big city examples. I don't know what other cities have. Texas is just cowboys, Republicans, and guns and barbecue.
Yeah, guns. All them goddamn guns.
Goddamn, goddamn, you might smoke me some barbecue and shoot my guns.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, I could honestly list so many other cities for like the top four things they're supposed to be known for. Fucking Miami's hot girls, babes, beaches, and everyone wearing fucking uh the the 80 colors, the
Oh my god. Hmm.
pink, black, and sea green. It's uh just there's so many things that's like people don't talk about it because they're either we don't know people from there or that's just how it's just depicted.
Yeah.
I think that's just how Vegas is. It's like Vegas, like I said, strip. Like why would anyone else care outside of the strip if you're not from Vegas? So
Right. I was making a joke with my fiance
uh-huh.
and like, OnlyFans. And I was just like, what? OnlyFans is like the norm in Vegas, okay? Like it's like the new Instagram. Like how am I going to fit in with the people when I move back if I don't have an OnlyFans? And he's like, no. And I was like, nah, everybody got it. That's like it's not what's your Instagram, it's what, hey man, what's your OnlyFans?
Oh my god. Yo, sub for a sub or what?
Yeah, yeah, what's up? What's up?
Oh my goodness. Are there really that many people with OnlyFans in fucking Vegas?
No, I mean, I was joking, but like it to me, right? So for moving on to the topic of just like what is like normalized, like I think like, it's not you're not really judged as much when you're from Vegas. And I feel like it's a good and bad thing. It's a good thing because it's like, to each his own, like you do your own thing, but at the same time, like everybody like, people who knew that I was from Vegas in the
Mm-hmm.
military was just like, so you're either a dealer or, a stripper." And I'm like, "Neither. I am neither." Like, that's what I mean by, like, the whole everybody just thinks, like, it's all about the strip because, like, there are these people that don't really have never really traveled near, I guess, Vegas other than, just staying in the South, and the first thing that they asked me was, "So how did you go to school? Like, I know there's just a bunch of casinos, like, where do you live?" And I'm like, "I live in a house, and I went to a normal school. We don't just, that's just one small part of our city. It's
Hey,
not
good job,
the
SLT.
whole place, I guess."
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. I mean, that's so interesting because it's like, do people just like you said, assume what you do, or
Yes.
like when you
Yes.
say I'm Vegas, right? Oh, you know a stripper. How
Yeah.
how
Oh,
how
yeah.
how common does that actually come up as like an opening liner when you're introducing yourself from Vegas? Like honestly, is that common?
It is extremely common, especially being on the East Coast. Like, well, not just, since I'm in Virginia, but like it's more like when I joined the military, like everybody comes from different parts of the states, different parts of the world, right? And
Right.
like you come to learn that like not many people actually fucking watch TV. Like because like someone told me that they only knew Chinese and
What up,
Asian. And
Nila?
I'm like, first of all, Chinese people are Asian people. And they're like, "Okay, so what are you? Are you Chinese or Asian?" And I'm like, "No, no." "No, no, no. I am Filipino." And they're like, "Oh, oh, so you're just Asian." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Like Chinese people are Asian people." It's like asking someone, are you what is it? Are you oh, wait, hold on. I gotta think of a good example. Are
Okay.
you oh my gosh. Like, okay, for instance, there is someone who is Mexican who asked me, like, "So I heard, like, you're either Filipino or" never mind, I forgot. I can't.
I was
I
waiting. I
can't
was
think of
waiting.
things. I couldn't think of, like, an example. It's just more like these questions are so generalized, I guess, because they told me that it was normal to call all the Asians Chinese, and they were really trying hard not to sound, like, offensive or anything,
Hmm.
but they were like, "No, like, I've never seen, like, an Asian before, like, or at least have grown up around an Asian person." So, I'm over here sitting, like, in boot camp, like, yes, there are tons of people that look like me. They're like, "Oh, that's crazy," because you only really see like, I only really see you guys on TV, but they're only, like, known as just, like, Asian.
Right,
Like,
right,
that's just
right.
like, all of us are just Asian. There's no specific, like, Taiwanese, Vietnamese, like, there's no differentiation.
I see, I see, I see. That's super funny, dude.
Mhm.
I- that just reminds me of like the fucking King of the Hill. I don't know if you watch King of the Hill at all,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
me and my friends make fun of that shit all the time. So you Chinese or Japanese? And it's like I'm from Laos. I'm Laotian.
Oh
The
my god.
ocean. I fucking love that clip.
God.
And then at the end of it, after him explaining, it's like, so you Chinese or Japanese? It's literally the same energy. That's so funny to me.
Mhm.
Holy shit! So you Chinese or Asian, cat? What are you?
I am all of them.
Nice. Oh my gosh. But and then so how long did it take for them to actually understand that you were a different type of Asian?
No, there was no, like,
you
getting
you
them to understand.
you didn't
Like,
get
it's
through to them at all.
no, because it was just like they grew up, like, 19, 20 years of their life, Like, these people that I was talking to, at least, like, grew up in, like, this small town where everybody knew everybody. Everybody was just, like, the same race, and they were like, "Okay, well, that's just weird." And then they just kinda were like, "Okay, well, there's this thing that's here, and I don't wanna, like, get to know what it is." And, like, it made me realize that there is a very big difference between those who grew up around, I guess, technology and was
Mm-hmm.
willing to kinda explore rather than someone that was just like, "Okay, I live in this town and I'm just gonna do the things that I'm used to doing," and then, like, not really see what else is out there. It's like they seclude themselves because it's just comfortable to be, you know, like,
Right,
there's
right,
no
right.
need to look past where I'm at, and, like, I think that's what is it? What is that book called? There's a book that, reminded me of this. Do you know this book? I think everybody has read it. It's, like, where everything's the same. It's like a utopia, quote, unquote, and, like, people go to school and they're monitored and everybody has a specific job and, like, no one sees color. Like,
No,
there's no individualism.
yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. The
It's a
Giving,
hold on. Yes! The Giver, I think?
the Giving. I don't know. The Giver. Yeah, sure. I don't know. I'm going off craze face. Chat.
Oh,
Like
okay,
I'm
okay.
not educated. I don't read.
Oh my god, you
Like
didn't grow up with that book? It's like
no,
it was in, like, literature class or English class, right?
I don't know. You're in a different state than me, so I don't know.
Mm, mhm.
So yeah, never heard of that book. I mean, I've heard of the book. I've never read the book. But
Yeah, well,
go on.
so what's crazy about The Giver, right? And,
Hmm.
like, the book is better, but I watched the movie as well, and, like, it shows you, like, there's these people that grew up with a set of rules or whatever, they can't question it, and, like, people are always in like, the higher ups are always in their business and stuff, and, like, they just kinda never question it, and they're like, "Okay, like, this is whatever, right? So I feel like that's the kind of energy that those people had, the people that I had encountered in the military, and it's like they're kind of like, "Oh, okay, well that's like different, and I kind of don't want to get to know this different, so I'm gonna just stick to what I know." You know
Right,
what I
right,
mean?
right, 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 right. No, I get you. I get you. I
Yeah.
think it's yeah, I mean, it's also crazy that I won't say there's people out there because there's always that's just like majority of people actually to not experience a diverse just living circumstances, whether it's like different types of people and ethnicities, different like social classes, different
Mhm.
fucking cuisines for that matter, you know? And it's just, I wouldn't say it's crazy to me, but like the more that we see the world is connected and you can like go out and get information that like you said for you to like this age of technology that there's still people who are just like who just don't get it and don't really bother to to go out of their way to even learn something new even as a adult, you know, when they start being in different scenarios and situations, you know.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know why I thought of this, but I was gonna ask you this question.
mhm.
So it kind of goes with the idea of like people who are kind of, even though there's a lot of technology out there, like people don't want to go out and see or learn more. So it's kind of on the topic of that. So like generations, right? Like different generations, like there's like Gen X, there's, the boomers and like, all these different whatever, right?
Right, right,
So
right, right.
my question is, um, what is your opinion on the idea that when kids get older, they have to take care of their parents? Like, I know that's a very old
Oh,
school, like,
okay.
yeah. So what's your opinion on that? I wanted to know your take.
Well, I think it depends because it's like for me, right? I would say I'm sort of in that boat because
Mhm.
my family, my parents were immigrants that came over from the Philippines. So technically I would be first generation here in the US.
Oh.
So, you know, but wouldn't say by default, but like sort of by the way we were raised up. We grew up to that thing. What's up, Ray? We always grew up with the idea it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna help take care of my parents when they're older and they're retired and stuff like that, and you know, take on some of the responsibilities, like you know, take the house and stuff, and you know, just being an overall adult. So growing up with that mentality, it's interesting because it's like, oh yeah, I gotta work hard. I don't have as much time to be able to take, let's say if I wanted to take a break year between in the middle of college, right? Like that was not an option for me. Um and it's just like try to be successful, try to be stable so that I can set myself up for not only for myself but for the family, and more particularly like my parents too, as a backup plan, you know, not just for myself and whatever future significant other and family I wish to have later on in life. But um the idea of that is old school because it was, like you said, it is old school because you know that's just how it was. That's how it's always been for generations, and people always trying to protect what they had because they didn't have like what you said earlier, they didn't have a reason to leave and go out to do new things. It's like whatever worked and we're going to keep doing
Mhm.
that thing. Versus nowadays, right? Whatever worked is barely just enough to survive, especially in
Yeah.
this new climate, right? You come to the US, fucking inflation, you're not going to make it trying to get a, like as an immigrant, you're not going to make it trying to get a house, trying to do, you know, even two jobs minimum wage. That's just not how it works anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone, the new age is like say for our generation, if we want to retire, we got to learn how to fucking not only get a good amount of money, but we have to like be financially fucking smart and invest in shit and like, you know, be comfortable. And like that's cool, but the climate and the environment has changed so dramatically so fast within one generation that that's why being in that generation, it's just stressful because you're like, man, we thought we grew up like, oh, we could have done what our parents did and we'll be okay. And clearly that's not going to be why that's not how it's going to work anymore. And that's why me and my friends and my generation, at least growing up in my area, we were like, man, this all fucking sucks. And obviously we're all working hard and we're doing that stuff. But um as far as taking care of the parents when they're older, I'm like, family is family. Um if you grew up with them, and you love your family, then that just takes priority, especially in my life. But if you didn't grow up with taking care of family, or if you're that type of person who grew up and you're gonna do what you do regardless of how much you care about your family or not, like you can care about them a lot, but you're still gonna do what you do regardless of the situation, then that's a individual case. But
Yeah.
for me, it's just the mentality of taking care of a family is like, these are people who take care of me, I'm going to take care of them. It just goes sort of full circle. Do I expect that from my kids? Maybe not as high of a degree as my parents might expect of me, because like, again, things are just going to change. And I would have to educate myself more in the whatever comes up in the future to make sure I can take care of myself, so they don't have to worry about me as much.
Yeah. No, and
So.
that's like a great way to see it, you know? And the reason why I asked is because like so there's a Korean drama that I'm watching,
Hmm.
and this mom is like telling her daughter, "You can't get a boyfriend, you have to take care of me, like you can't leave me because I'll be lonely."
Hmm.
And obviously she feels a kind of way about it and she loves her mom, but like it just became like a burden to her. So I kind of had a conversation with my own mom and I was like, "Hey, like when you guys get older, like I would like to take care of you guys because I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever encounters I had with my parents in the past, like I still would like to do that." And she straight up told me no. And I was like, "What?" And she said her explanation was, being a healthcare provider and being a daughter or a son
Hmm.
to the patient never works. And she was just like, as a parent, as your mother, I will always see you as my daughter. So if you were to try to take care of me, I'll always question you. I'll always think, are you doing something right? And I'll always think to myself, like, life is too short for you to be spending a lot of the times that you can be growing and establishing yourself to be taking care of me.
Right.
She
Hmm.
was just like, "Stick me in a home," like, because my duty as your mother was to raise you to the best of my abilities, and then if I can no longer fend for myself after, you guys have established your own families, yada, yada, yada. Like, I want to be placed in a home, And like, when we pass, like, we may not have life insurance, but we have assets, and that's for everybody, all the siblings to split. But she made it so clear that, like, she wants none of us, none of her kids to take care of her because she's just like, to me, that's an old school way of thinking. And as much as we hate to admit it, right? Because she took care of her parents, she's like, it wasn't a burden. It was just hard. It was hard raising kids at the same time, taking care of, her
Mm.
parents, my
Right. Right.
grandparents. And she was just like, and they felt it too. They knew that they were giving my mom a hard time, but she herself refused to put them in a home. And she was just like, I want to do this. And she goes, but experiencing that, she was just like, I know myself as a person, and I know that I would not be able to have you guys take care of me. And to me, it was so hard to accept that. I was just like, "But you're not a burden." And she goes, "Well, I will feel that way." And I just had to respect her
Ah.
wishes.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
the
Right.
question, right? The question lies, well, is it bad for the child to want to experience and live their life rather than, taking care of their parents in a way like giving back to them once they can no longer take care of themselves? Like, does that make the child a bad person or a bad kid?
I wouldn't necessarily say a bad person or a bad kid, but I like this all just again goes back to not how the parent raised that said kid or individual and how they grew up, but but that mentality in general just comes from the environment, right? It's like
Mhm.
the reason, and this is how I see things, right? Just like to make things much simplify in my mind for the sake of, you know, talking about it, is there was one way to live, right? To, like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
work, I'm gonna take care of my parents, I'm gonna take care of the kids because that's what's gonna work. There are no other options. It's like, what, like, let's say my parents are immigrants, right? They're like, in the Philippines, there are no retirement homes. It's like you don't have there's no other choice, right? Whereas, let's say, you know, you come over to the US, where it's like, sure, we
Mhm.
have retirement homes, there's assisted living, and in terms of like the job market, right, and education and the things and opportunities that are available to almost everybody, right, as long as you work hard enough to reach and work for those goals, is that there's so many more options that you're not limited to just being to take care of that, your parents, right? So
Mhm.
in that case, the way I see things, it's not necessarily a bad person, but it's just being able to maximize your own opportunity without limiting yourself. Because, like, you could call it a burden, but I would say call it more of a limitation, because obviously if you're spending finances, time, energy, etc., on taking care of your parents in their old age, then, you know, that's taking away from whatever else opportunities, you know, financially, job, social standing, raising a family, right? It's just another fraction of your resources being used somewhere else, right?
Yes.
And, you know, just like you said, it's like they, like your mom, like, wouldn't want to feel like a burden because there are so many opportunities, right? And it makes sense. But but the reason is that for you, your mom recognized that. You know, for a lot of immigrant families coming into the US, including like my parents are like, I wouldn't say fucking old, but like they're pretty old when they had me, because I'm the youngest and I'm fucking
Mhm.
26, right? Um, but like Cray says, I don't think it does. It just depends on the situation, right? For me, it's more so that, you know, my parents worked hard to get to me where I am, and they didn't have the resources to educate themselves, and they did what they could do to raise us, but they didn't have the resources for themselves to educate themselves to know how many different opportunities that we could have, because they thought even our opportunities were still limited. It's like, all right, go to school, get a college, get a degree, get a job. That's it. That's your pathway, right?
Yeah.
They didn't think of like themselves, like, oh, they weren't concerned about whether they're going to go home. It's like, yeah, we just want to make sure that everyone's, so we can be stable as a family and stable as individuals, so that we can live a decent life here in the States, right? Whereas, um, you know, taking care of the parents situation, back to that point, it's more so, does it make it a bad person? You know, if you don't have
Mm.
that, I think you're a bad person if you don't talk to them about it. so like, I went on this entire fucking tangent for like 3 minutes, right? But the point the point is, if you don't at least have that conversation similar to how you and your mom had it, right? Then I think, you know, you're blindsiding them, because it's like they have this expectation, and if you know they have that expectation of you, and then you just blindside them with a decision that, you know, may or may not affect not only the relationship, but their how they decide to make decisions and stuff for years to come, then I think you become a bad person, because you're not communicating how you want to live your life, and how to, for lack of better words, peacefully live or live apart from your parents, right? And when they get older. So if you can at least have that conversation and expectation early, the earlier the better, obviously, you know, as a young adult, then, you know, I don't think you're a bad person, because at least you give them that expectation. But if you're like fucking, you're like mid 30s, and you're like suddenly, and then be like, oh, I don't want to take care of you anymore, and like you don't have that expectation, and they've already been somewhat socially or financially dependent on you, I'm like, ooh, that's not good. You can't do that, you know what I mean? There was no easing
Mhm.
into it. There was no predisposition. I don't know. I don't that's not the right word. But there's no expectation for them to think otherwise. So if you don't at least have that conversation at any point, then I think you're a bad person.
Hmm. Then okay. Then to play like devil's advocate, right?
Okay.
So like what if this parent, right? Like became, socially dependent on you, but every time you provide, you give them money and stuff, they just go gamble it, they just like, waste it, they spend it on like things they don't need, like alcohol, right?
Right.
And then when you say, "You know what? I'm done. I'm not gonna take care of you. Like here's this last bit of money and I'm done." Right? Does
No.
that make
Mm-hmm.
the kid a bad person
No.
for just like, "You know what? Like you're not doing anything to help yourself. I've done everything I could and that's it." And the argument that the parent would say, "Well, you know what? I brought you into this world, like, you should at least give me money. Like I expect like half of your paycheck, because I raised you." Like, is it okay for the child to just, "You know what? I'm done. You go fend for yourself. Like I can't do it." Right?
Well, no, I mean, like at that point, that's literally just abuse, right? That's not healthy. Um, I mean, if it's like occasional, like here and there, a couple gambling, you lose money, they don't they go over their budget, it's it happens. It's human nature to make mistakes or be greedy in here and then. I get that. But if they're like consistently, and I mean like consistently doing shit like that, I'm like, yo, that is not cool, you know? Again, I think this comes with this there's an expectation that comes with this. It's like that parent comes with an expectation. I'm like, you're gonna give me money because I'm your parent. I brought you into that world. But if they're using that shit to, not at least survive, let alone fuel an addiction, whatever, gambling, alcohol, whatever, dude, drugs, I don't care.
Mhm.
That's literally just abuse, right? If they're socially, financially dependent, I'm like, dude, if I were in that case, I would be like, yo, you are getting thrown into a fucking home and like, dude, you're like, I gave you like you with that money. I was giving you a chance. I'm trying to I was doing my best, but if you're not going to be able to sustain yourself when I'm trying to do my best, I'm like, dude, that you're not trying. You're not trying. You know what I mean? Then I'm like, dude, how are you, like, as a kid, as a parent, like obviously you're trying and you're raising your kid growing up. It's like the kid doesn't know you're trying your best, right?
Oh,
But
yeah, 100%.
yeah, but as both parties are adults, you can tell when someone's making a fucking effort. It's you know what I mean? There should be an understanding there, but you know, for these kinds of situations, like, dude, if you have the money to spare to let them fucking abuse it, fuck it. That's your issue. But if you don't have the time or energy to be quote unquote wasting it to give to your parents so they can to use it on whatever abuse, addiction, whatever, I'm like, dude, you're wasting everyone's time and energy. Like you raised me to be someone good enough. You're not giving me a good example of what you know to expect when I'm supposed to be older. So I don't know.
Yeah. That it's almost like this topic can lead into so many different kinds of conversations. Like, so if something like that were to occur, right? Then like it goes into like parenting styles too. Like how did this child grow up for the parent to feel so comfortable in a way like draining their child, right? Because like it's almost like they raise this kid to, okay, well, you're born just to take care of me. Like you have no individuality. Like you are just my servant, you know?
Right.
And how does this child, right, this person who is now an adult supposed to live their own life when their parent passes away? because it's like, okay, well, I did everything that I was supposed to do in my life. Like I raised, what is it? I spent this time kind of taking care of my parents. Now they're gone. Like, what do I do? you know,
Hmm.
I don't even know how to help myself, So it's like I've always found it interesting, like, looking at different parenting styles and what works because, like, more research have gone into, like, hitting your kid as discipline, how that doesn't do anything to their growth, and it actually, harms their, their mental when they get older,
Hmm.
and it's like, I don't know. My question is, like, what do you think, like, in your opinion, is, like, the best parenting style?
Oh man, that's a heavy question. Like, dude, I don't even have kids. I'm not even fucking in a relationship right now, Kat. That's
But
a
would you, like would you ever want a family, though?
no, yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. But it's
mhm.
like beat them.
Oh, be
Oh my God, Scar. Okay,
oh
well,
my god.
welcome, Scar. Um, but like, how would I want to raise my kids, dude? I think it really also just depends on, like, again, this is just all hypotheticals, but um, it really depends on the dynamic with me and my partner, right? So
Mm,
this because it's like I've helped raise my baby niece, my baby nephew, niece 4 years, or yeah, four, nephew one now, and with my sister, both each to one sister and my brothers-in-law, and it's hard to say because for me, I didn't have a like that significant other to support me when I had to babysit and take care of the my niece and nephew.
mhm,
And I want to be someone who's stern, someone to be able to teach, but for me, someone who still hasn't personally gone out in the world to explore, adventure, and live life. It took its own mental toll on me to be like, man, I kind of don't want kids like anytime soon. And because
mm,
of that, right, I'm like, how would I want to raise my kids? Um, and it's hard to say for me because it's like, I want to be stern, I want to be fun with my kid, just like every parent. It's like you want to be an ideal parent, but what is like, no parent is perfect, right? It's like obviously I'll have a bad day. I don't want to do my best, try and not yell at my kid, even though my kid doesn't know what's like right or wrong because they don't know shit, right?
yeah.
And I see that every day with my baby nephew living with me, and it's just hard to it's just a lot of patience. And for me, obviously I wouldn't want to try and hit my kid. Maybe the occasional spanking if they get it completely out of hand. Like if they did something, if they do something consistently bad that I keep telling them no, I'm just like, dude, come on, you gotta listen, man, right? But um, like I said, one, so it depends on the dynamic with my partner, with my theoretical hypothetical wife, and for me, how patient I can be. I wouldn't want to try to teach them. I wouldn't want to try and limit them about too many things. I want them to be able to learn things and try to do what they do as a kid. I just want to have them live life as a kid, right? It's like
Yeah.
obviously I'll the millennial type of shit is uh you know do my best not to put a fucking iPad in front of them and have them watch YouTube all the time. But that's gonna
iPad
happen.
kids.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. But at the same time, I'm just like, dude, you're gonna have these kids go outside, go fucking scrape your knee, dude. Go
Yeah,
live
you
life.
you gotta, you know, go lick some tree bark or something.
I, I I was like, I only let my go get COVID or some shit.
Experience
Like,
pandemic.
yeah, experience it, dude. I only let my fiance beat me. She.
I don't know who that woman is, Craze Face. That's crazy. Wow.
Oh
Uh-huh.
my gosh. But yeah, I mean, it's really there's so many different factors, right? Like where I am in my life, literally where I would be living. Yeah, if I lived in a lower fucking dangerous neighborhood, I would never let my kid outside. Versus if I lived in a nice neighborhood, yeah, go outside, go scrape your knee. Just don't, I don't want my kid getting kidnapped or run over because fucking stupid ass drivers don't know how to drive in the neighborhood. So,
Oh my god. Yeah.
So I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many dynamic factors at play. If you ask me a question, I'm like, dude, I don't even have a fucking girlfriend right now. You kidding me?
I don't know why I asked if I'm being honest. I was just like, I just thought of babies and I was like, oh, babies.
Oh my god. I was like, that's fine, but I don't know. How about you? Would you? Yeah, I feel like you're obviously significantly closer to having a kid more than me. You're already financed up. You got your finance in the fucking, or someone's finances in the chat. You have your
Yeah.
own finance. I mean,
Uh-huh.
how about for you? How would you want to raise your kid if, with your expectations going into it?
So it sounds kind of strange, right? But I just after owning this cat, right? Because I have a pet cat,
Hmm.
I come to realize that, you know, I I wasn't ready to like because there was a time where I was like super young and I'm still super young, right? Like I was like 19 and I was just like, man, I've seen the world. And I low key kind of did just one part of the world, right? And like I I came back from, like, a deployment, and I had, like, another partner at the time, and I was just like, "I really wanna start a family," but obviously that didn't happen, and then years later, I meet the love of my life, and, like,
Hmm.
we own this cat, and I I adopted him when he was a kitten, so I was like, "Oh, man, this is gonna be easy, this is gonna be like a practice, like, this is, like, my kid," so I treat him like a baby, right? But
Right.
I had, like, the shortest fucking fuse you could think of. Like, I would get so fucking angry at my
Right.
cat, like, I
Right.
would yell at him, and there's that one time where I was just like I was trying to sleep and, raising a kitten is literally like having, like, a toddler, like, because this kitten will, like, run around, has so much energy, and, like, it'll wake you up in the middle of the night, and I remember I, like, yelled at him, like, as loud as I could, like, "What do you want?" Right? And he
Hmm.
looked at me with the biggest, saddest fucking eyes you can think of, and then he walked away. And I was like, "Oh my god." And then I, like, had, like, this moment of reflection. I was like, "I'm really not ready yet," you know? And he's now 1 years old, and, he like, I guess the relationship between me and, like, my cat, right? Like, you could see that he loves me and stuff, and, I kinda got to know the cat language of, like, okay, this is what he wants, this is what he wants to do, but, like, it taught me patience, and it
Mm.
also made me realize that, like, my fiancé, like, he has a short fuse too, but not with me, like, it was just specifically, like, with this cat. And this cat has literally taught us how to, I guess, not communicate because obviously, like,
You
cats
can't.
can't talk back,
Yeah. I was gonna be
but,
like,
like
you can't communicate with the cat.
yeah, but the thing is, though, like, it taught us to have conversations with each other, you know? Like,
Mm.
we come to, like, this teamwork of just, like, he what is it? He
Sorry,
can't
Scar.
okay, well, yes, you can communicate with your cat, but, like,
you
you
know,
can't talk cat
you can't. Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
cat,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm.
So, like, my fiancé and I made this rule of just, like, if one of us is angry, the other one can't be, you know? The other one has
Oh.
to be, like, the mediator, the one that's understanding, you know? Oh my
Oh my
god.
God, Scar. Okay.
But you so you really gotta think about it, right? So it's just like, if it was that difficult with a kitten, like, imagine with, like, a human, like a baby, right? So we thought about it, and we were like, "Okay, so the kind of parents that we wanna be is, like, not too strict, but, like, parents that can communicate openly with their child, right? So, like,
Right.
we actually wanna take out all forms of discipline that involve, like, physical contact, like, smacking the hand and stuff like that, because, like, me and my fiancé were raised kinda rough, and,
Hmm.
like, learning from that experience and then, thinking about, like, okay, how would we want our kid to be? Like, we don't want to have them insanely independent to where they're like, okay, well, my parents are just so strict that I can't, I got to do everything on my own. But at the same time, we want to reinforce like, hey, you can do it on your own. So like some form of like independence, but at the same time, like, but I can still lean on someone for help. But that takes
Right.
like learning, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, but
Hmm.
there is like a goal, right? And the goal for us is just like to never allow our kid to ever think that we don't love them. Like, I think that's
Right.
a very important thing, And like me growing up Asian, right? Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can maybe attest to this, but like my parents didn't openly say, like, hey, I love you, It was more like, did you eat? Hey,
Right.
did
Hmm.
like, it was never that openly saying, "I love you," but I want that to be, a normal thing if I ever have a family, So, that's kinda like where my parenting would go, so more like relaxed, but with some discipline, you know what I mean?
Right, right, right. No, I mean, like I know this
Yeah.
what you're talking about because, like I said, like I wasn't like solo raising my niece and nephew. I see my sisters do this
Mhm.
like all the time, right? It's like they and my brother-in-law's like, they don't hit their kids. They're still young, and
Yeah.
obviously they want to hit their kids, and it's like they try to discipline them like different ways and stuff. So it makes sense. Like I see it, being implemented, seeing how um the are the next generation of kids being raised versus how the last generation of kids were raised. It makes sense. It just makes sense. All this other, and like back in the day there wasn't data
Yeah.
to rely on and be like, oh yeah, this majority of kids, this should work, right? So there's,
Mhm.
but yes, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, I like how you through your cat that you've got to figure out this dynamic with your finance. So yeah.
It's it's just weird to think that, like, you could, because someone actually gave me advice of just, like, "You don't want kids yet, like, try with an animal." And I was like, "Ah, this shit's gonna be a piece of cake." But, like, with this cat, like, cats are naturally independent, but, like, the fact that, you know, cats are still very much emotional and they understand, like, body language and they understand they're human,
Hmm.
like, just it like, my cat helped me learn that, like, wow, I am a hot-headed, like, fuck. Like, I can't even process my own emotions properly, so what makes me think that I could raise a child that doesn't know better and is gonna make mistakes, right? Like, why did I think that was gonna be so easy, you know?
Right, right. I mean, there's just like I said, it's hard to say too because at least you have that experience raising your cat with your I keep saying finance for the fuck of it with your fiance.
Finance.
Yeah, but like, and I have my experience raising my nieces and nephews, but it's this is also one of those things, right, where you want that you always think of like the hypotheticals and you go into this with a plan, but then when it actually happens, and especially for something like, let's say, raising a kid, where it's not just like a one-time thing, right? This is like days and days that accumulates over fucking years, right? Until you can start taking them to fucking school, right?
Mm.
And it's just like I feel like this is just a human thing, right? Like majority of people will say that they would do something um if they're put in scenario, like generally, like the common reason for this is like bystander effect, but like raising kids or in a relationship or like social dynamic situations in general is, and things will always change when differently depending on when they're actually put into the situation, different levels of stress and stuff like that. And like once you have a kid, I'm not saying that you won't be able to do that, but I'm just like, there's always, and you clearly you already know like some of your flaws and stuff like that, and that's cool. Mad respect for you guys to understanding like that already, but I always go with this caveat, right? It's like, is how do I say this? it's hard to be the ideal version of what you imagine to be in that situation. And like, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that because, I want to do my best. But sometimes, it's hard to be your best every single day and always have that like that switch turned on 24/7, especially when it's raising a kid, and that's just the reality of it. Raising a fucking kid nowadays is fucking difficult, man. Oh,
Especially,
jeez.
like, the environment plays a big role in that, like, what kind of area are you growing up in? And plus, like, so me and my fiance, like, not saying we have street in us, but like we're familiar with the ghetto, right? But
Right.
it helped us with street smarts. Like we know some things that people maybe in the upper class don't really understand, right? So it's like I obviously don't want to raise a child in, a kind of ghetto area. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I want them to be aware that like there are places where you have to be super hyper focused on your surroundings. You have to understand how to talk to people, how to be able to get out of situations that are dangerous, when to defend yourself and when to just kind of let things happen, like but you can never be fully prepared for anything. And that goes with, like, not just raising kid, but that's, like, life.
Right.
And being told that, "Oh, well, you just gotta always be ready for the worst," like, that's a terrible fucking way to live because then you have adrenaline and anxiety all the time.
Mm.
And so when you think about, like, okay, how's the world socially right now? Like, with, like, well, this isn't like a bad thing, right? But when people are talking about like gun control, when they're talking about like bringing awareness to those who are like, I guess, normalizing. Well, not normalizing. I don't know the word, but we talked about it before. But understanding the social norms of
Right.
like what is it? Her, she,
Oh, like being
he,
politically
him.
correct?
Yeah, like stuff like that, Like that stuff is it learned better in a public school? Is it learned better in a private school? Like, is it
Right.
better to just homeschool your child? And so like like there's always different avenues to take and it all really depends. But at the same time, like I don't know, you can't you're almost like biased to your own views because you adapt the views in your household until you move out. So,
Mm.
like, my parents and I don't really see things the same, but at the same time, like, even when I was being raised at my home, like, I still didn't share the same views, you know what I mean? But, like, there are a lot of kids that when we went to school, we had, like, government and we debate, like, you'll see every background and how everyone is different, and they're like, "Well, that's just weird that you think that way," you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because, to your point, right? Not only are you raised a certain way because of your parents, but the environment, right? Because once you send your kid out to school, right, they're literally spending, let's say, like a third of their life for like the next 2 decades, a decade and a half, being around not your parents, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and like a third of their life, let alone half the time they're awake, and the other half the time they're awake, they may or may not be being able to spend time with said parents, said family, right, or whoever their guardian is. So it's like you said, to your point, the environment is so important, and the same way, it's like you can't tell them to expect the worst, because it's like, what is the worst? Like, they don't know, you know
Yeah.
it's like you can only you can strike fear into their heart with like fucking stories, but on like fucking media and shit. But at the same time, I'm just like, dude, they just gotta live, and if you can support them and, how you said, be a good parent at the end of the day, and someone they can confide in for support, that I find that to be more of the ideal situation, growing up in this kind of societal standard of sending your kid off to school and then come home to like your parents who worked a fucking full day and shit. So there's just the layers and layers on this is just so fucking there's too much. Let alone once kids start going on social media, that's a whole nother layer, because that's them talking to kids in their own environment virtually outside of school. That fucking sucks, dude. Oh god, it's so bad.
Crazy. It's like super crazy, right? But think about it this way. So when I was 12 years old, right? And my parents, if they're watching this, because I sent your podcast to them.
Hi cast
So
parents.
right? So when I was 12 years old, I was surfing the web like it was fucking like it was the candy shop on my fucking phone. I was like, hell yeah, let me look at all these things. Like I clicked things I shouldn't have. Like I was exploring everything. But right, pen pals. So I have a lot of pen pals. And they're still friends with me to this day. I've met some, I haven't met all of them, but like I want to, right? But 12 years old, so middle school, I'm like maybe 6th, 7th grade, and I was talking to people that were on the internet, and, like, if I had a kid and they're 12 years old and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I have this friend and I met them on said app," I'd be like, "No, the fuck you're not," you know? But, like, I don't know, like, I just knew that I was smart enough not to get myself into anything, like, dangerous, but I don't know if I myself would be able to trust, like, my own kid, right? And obviously, we don't have one yet, but, like, just thinking about it, like, 12 years old is a young fucking age to be like, "Hi, this is me." Post pictures of myself on Instagram and like, "Hey, like, I wanna make friends," you know? Like, that that's so dangerous, you know? And, like, looking back at it now at the age that I'm at, like, I don't know why, like, I was so comfortable doing that, and, like, thankfully, like, the friends that I've made aren't, like, scary and stuff, but, like, there are a lot of dangerous and scary people out there, and plus the technology is just increasingly getting better and better to the point where, like, it's the safest it's ever been and the most dangerous it's ever been, you know?
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. I mean, same thing with you. I was 12. I was fucking Justin.tv trying to talk to people, trying to play games at the same time. There were the occasional weirdos, Um, but, that also came with me being aware enough, you know what I mean? Like having that self-awareness would be like, oh yeah, there's going to be some fucking weird people on the internet. So,
Yeah, but
yeah, there's just too much that you can't prepare for everything, and you just hope that these kids nowadays are gonna be able to be not only just street smart but like internet smart.
yeah, internet smart. Like it
Internet
should that
smart.
should be like a fucking class, like no home ec. It's like how to be smart on the internet. All right.
Why is it an English accent?
I don't know. I just feel like they're way smarter than us. Like if
It's
you talk
like
like this, I assume that everything you say is um correct.
absolutely everything you speak is a much more eloquent than how you speak than you dirty Americans.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I feel like for me, again, not in a relationship, but single ladies, hey, hit me up. Kidding, kidding.
Single ladies, all the single ladies.
But there's just everything is just so dynamic, you know what I mean? And just like so many layers. It's like I would it would be hard for me to try and prep for everything and be that parent who tries to think of situations so that my kid would be safe. And I'm like, dude, I just got to take things one step at a time. And because that's just how I do things, right? One step at a time. And if my partner would be the same way, then I feel like as long as we're on the same page, then hopefully the kid will be on board. And yeah, so there's a lot there's a lot going on. And you get what I mean. Yeah. Bro.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, bruv. That's what I like to hear. Wonderful, wonderful. Also, all the people from your chat apparently like to meow. Is that you're doing?
Um, I don't know them. Oh my god.
You don't
I think
know.
it
You don't know these blokes.
Who the hell are you people?
Oh my gosh! And I know you messaged me. It's like you can ask me questions. I don't care. This makes it a podcast. I don't want to ask all the questions. This makes it easier on me.
Yeah, it's because, my brain literally goes, like, 1,000 miles per hour, and, like, what I
That's
hate is just, like, I swear to my partner, like, I swear to him that I'm listening to him, but, like, sometimes, like, something random would pop into my head, and I just interject with something super off, and he's
uh-huh.
just like, "What?"
What?
And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I swear I was listening, but this one part, this one word you said reminded me." And then it's just like
I
a
see.
whole different topic.
Got you. Got you. No, that's fine. That's fine. If anything, again, I welcome that to the podcast, but because at least you be like, oh yeah, this reminded me of something, rather than you just going babies. I'm like, what? Like it's fine. This is what makes a podcast, and I'm fine with it. So I don't really care. Again, gives me less things to talk about or less things to think about, in terms of trying to question wise. But you're good. But yeah. Oh man, okay. To loop back to something we talked about like an hour ago.
Mhm.
Right. Um, maybe not, but whatever. Not maybe not an hour ago, but you know how you said like people who don't leave, right? I don't know if you know about like statistics or just like things that you hear. Again, this is everything I'm about to say is very anecdotal versus
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's actual statistics or not. I just hear things from like people who actually do read statistics. Like 50 people in the US, right? 50% of people in the US overall will not leave their hometown in their lifetime. And that
Oh! Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like that number is a bit more skewed obviously if you live in a more metropolitan area or coastal homes or coastal regions versus a more rural place, right? You're obviously more likely to move around and explore a bit more and move out of your hometown because of different reasons. But for the majority of the country who does not live in said regions, non-metropolitan areas, not very big connected suburbs and stuff like that, 50% of people in the US will not move out of their hometown for their entire life, and that is crazy. And when I say move out, like even a part of their life, they can move back, but they will not leave their hometown to live somewhere else. So I mean, there's that statistic, and then I just wanted to put that out there for just talking points. And but the other thing is just like how you said earlier, right? Like you get the fucking delay living in Virginia about fucking shrimp and like slang and culture and stuff, right? You're like, and same thing. I would now that we talked about it. It's just um it's I guess it's the same way, because if you're not in a place that connects too deeply into the internet and social media or just any kind of platform in general, I'm like it would be hard to blame them for not knowing more about the world and different cultures around them, even though they don't have as many in where they're at, in their life currently,
Mhm.
like with all the people you met and like um in the armed forces. So I mean, can I blame them about not being open-minded? A little bit. But can I blame them for not being connected? Not really. Before meeting you. So yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I don't
Well,
know.
okay. So here's something that I have to say then. So, without throwing, like, anybody personal in my life, but this is
Yeah, it's your
definitely me.
it's your fiance. I get it. Just throw his name
It's not my fiance. I'm so open to talking shit about him. Oh my god, if you watch like my previous content with him, like it is just nothing but fucking shit talking. Like I can shit talk this man any time of the fucking day. But like what I'm calling out, right, are so there's somebody that I know
hmm
and they challenged what being mature is. Like they challenged me on that, right? So here is my age. I am 22, and this person is just like in their 30s, right?
Okay.
And they were telling me that I'm not mature because of my age, because I lack the experience of having kids. I don't know what it is to struggle in that aspect, right? So, like, that doesn't make me mature. However, I have traveled, I have moved out at 18, and I've been financially independent for, basically after the age of 18, right? So, like,
Mm,
my thing is this individual has not traveled outside their state, has not lived anywhere else outside their state, has not been, I guess, in a place where they have made enough to move out and, I guess, support themselves
mm, mm.
in their place of living. So, like, what makes somebody mature? Like, what is the global definition of, like,
Oh
oh,
man.
this person is an adult, like, you are mature? Is it not living under your parents' roof anymore? Is it being financially stable? Is it traveling and understanding, at least a little bit more than outside your comfort zone? Like, what makes somebody mature, Because I absolutely think 100% that it does not matter how old you are, but at the same time, like, what age gives you is experience. But,
Mm-hmm.
like, what if somebody that's, like, in their 60s, right, has lived under their parents' roof, and then their parents passed away, and then now they just kind of the assets of their parents, the house, the life insurance, like, they
Right,
still
right.
live in that area. So what experience exactly does that person hold if they haven't gone outside of their comfort zone? So I've always wondered, right, and I've always, like, asked myself and other people, like, what is maturity? Because what if you can't have kids, right? What if,
Right.
like, your partner just can't, or, you as a woman, there's just something wrong to where you can't, like, what exactly is maturity?
Right. I mean, you asked for like a global definition. I don't have a global
Yeah, yeah.
definition, but to be completely honest, there is no objective because, maturity is always subjective to whatever system you're putting someone into. And for me, because I would view like in this argument, right? For whatever your 30-year-old person challenge you with, like, sure, they might be mature, but they might be mature relative to their own environment, to their surroundings. It's like, oh yeah, I'm 30, like I've done what I've had to do, and I've done more than everyone else that person's met or in their hometown. Maybe I don't know that person, and like again, I don't know you as much. um you know I know enough about you and be like, oh yeah, yeah, you're pretty mature.
Oh,
You're mature to me, so
you do
uh you
the
do.
adulting quite good.
Yeah, you do the adulting, you do the financial independence, hiya. All that stuff.
Yeah.
But again, like, I find that subjective, but for me, I think maturity comes, if I had to think from my own standards, and obviously again, subjective to me, but I wish it was objective, is, it's just mentality, right? Is, like you said, experience is the baseline. And it's like, sure, everyone will experience something in their life. Is it a good experience, bad experience? Did you grow from that experience? I don't know. I wouldn't say I wouldn't care about whether you experienced or not, because it's like, did that help you grow as a person? Maybe, maybe not. But in terms of my maturity, or how I view someone being mature, is being open minded and still being able to adapt to the environment and situations that you're put into, and being able to find an outcome, not just socially acceptable, but like practical, socially acceptable, and whatever, I wouldn't say hurts the least amount of people. But for me, I would be like, I'm trying to min max, all the different parameters. And in where maturity plays into that is is how you take all that experience to make that said decision and interaction with everything that you do to make that decision, right? And that's how I view maturity. Like if you're fucking you don't like someone and you do something petty, I'm like, did you need to do something petty? Does that really benefit anyone? You know what I mean? Or like growing up as a kid, it's like, when someone pisses you off at school or something, you write, like you talked about this last time on the past episode, it's like writing a fucking semi vague, like writing a rant on social
Descriptive. Yeah.
open social media post without dropping names, but you're still
Hmm.
still shit talking someone like pretty quote unquote directly, but it's just I think for me, again, it's just decision making and how you interact with the world around you, is how I view maturity. Will people agree with me in other countries or other people when they grew up? Probably not, because people will say, like, let's say you're a politician, right? Like, you're not supposed to, you don't give a shit about fucking your social interactions other than who's financially backing you, right? That's maturity in the sense of, I'm mature in my job. I'm gonna do what my what are those, my backings tell me to, or support me, right? It's like everything in maturity is based on subjectiveness. If I took an example specific to me, I'm a shoutcaster for League of Legends and Smash. That means I'm
Oh.
I'm able to I'm mature enough in my experience and my knowledge of each of those games to be able to educate and tell people what's going on the screen, versus someone who's new to the game. Like, they won't be able to tell you what's going on the screen and not be able to have that experience to entertain people. So everything is very subjective in the sense, but for me, of my subjective hope, which I wish to be objective, again, repeating myself, is just decision making. So decision making and interaction. So I don't know. That's my 4-minute rant on that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like something that everybody will always have like a different perspective on, because it's just everybody has a different walk of life, you know? And yeah, like it's very hard to even, I guess, put a definition to that. So like that's why to me I've always thought those conversations were kind of funny, because it's just like I I don't know anybody who's, well, other than, certain people, but I don't know anybody that actually goes like, "Hey, you know what? I've experienced everything that I was supposed to experience in life, so therefore I have the knowledge to bestow my teachings upon others," you know? Like, I just know everything. So I can just educate them on all this stuff, you know?
Exactly. That's it. Like I said, it's subjective maturity. If you can teach someone about something in whatever experience or field that you have said experience in, good job. I could
Mhm.
good for you. But are you going to say you're more mature overall because you can educate me in that one thing? I'm like, no, not really. Yeah. No,
No.
no. Am I more mature than that guy just because I can shoutcast video games? Hell no. What the fuck? I'm sure that guy has probably more maturity in whatever he does. He might make more money than me. He might have a kid. I don't know, dude. I don't fucking know. So I mean, again, I don't know. It's fuck everyone. That
Oh my god, just at the end of, just fuck all of you guys.
fuck everyone. There's my maturity, dude. And it's like, I can make my decision to say fuck you. I don't care about you. Right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted to tell you that you're just like not mature in my opinion, because you use such toilet language.
Hey, oh my. Oh, sorry. I have to say it in an English accent so I sound smarter and more educated. And fuck you, mate.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Yeah, fucking cunt.
Fuck off.
Yeah, fuck off. All right. Well, That was a good talk. I think we'll transition into the post podcast show now, Kat. We that was a
Mhm.
good stuff. There's some good stuff for sure. Oh
Well,
man, yeah, and you don't know these cats meowing in my chat, so that's fine too. But yeah, stick around for a bit if you're watching on YouTube. Good job, you made it all the way through. I hope you were potentially enlightened by or disapproved of our thought processes and stuff. So yeah. If you want to watch more, check out my channel and all that good stuff for actual gaming content. Check out Cat. She's Moo Cat.
Moo.
Why is Moo spelled like that, by the way?
Okay, it was a trend in like what 2013, 2012, where like all the E's were like replaced with X's. You
Excuse
know?
me. Wait, what?
Like with like usernames, like you replace different like vowels and stuff with X's. Like that was the
No.
trend back then. Oh,
I
what?
wasn't in that trend. My trends were either X's are in front or at the end. You know, XX, fucking swag master
Oh,
69 XX, or
because your username was taken.
exactly. Or we wouldn't use X's to replace the vowels. Ours was we would use numbers to replace the vowels,
Fair.
not X, not
Yeah.
X. Okay, so that, but still, that's not MOW. That's not moo. That's Mao. That's the mo
Mew.
Mew. That's Mo. It's
All
Ma.
right. It looks cute. All right. When you look at this profile picture, that's Moocat. It's not my actual name. It's Moocat. I've become my username.
Interesting. That's like me. That's like my VTuber. My VTuber is single name, just Neon.
Yes.
It's Muket Neon. Yes.
Yes.
All right, nice. Well, now I know why it's with an X. I see. Because people would be like Moocat. I'm like, who the fuck is Moocat? I don't see anyone with the name Moo. I see a
Yeah,
cat. I
yeah.
see a cat. I don't see a Moo.
You say that, right? But when I met Scarshi in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
on Twitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think that like the word that you can see, cat, like, oh, okay, I'm gonna call you cat. This man, when I entered the stream for the first time, called me Moo.
Wow,
Just Moo.
that's
I was
impressive.
like, and then everyone just called me Moo after that. And I was like, that I just I got rebranded. I'm not cat. I am Moo.
You're just straight up Moo. Moo. Thank you, Scarshi, for being there and listening. Moo. See, now we have cows in the chat now. we went from cats. We went from cats to cows. All right. We went from one sea animal to another. Moo. Moo.
Moo.
All right. Well, thanks again, Moo, for being on
Okay.
this. Thank you for being on this episode. Yeah, check her out if you're watching on YouTube. Her stuff's gonna be her channel's gonna be in the description. Otherwise, stick around for the post podcast show. We're gonna do some extra stuff. Apparently, she doesn't know the song "My Body Is a Wonderland." No, still doesn't ring a bell.
No.
All right. Well,
No.
anyways, we're gonna go over that song. Maybe I don't know. And yeah, she's gonna say anime shit because it's the post podcast show and I forgot to do it last time.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching,
Oh.
everyone. Say you want to shout something out. Last thing before I stop the YouTube recording.
Um, uh, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's always a great time. Um, I uh,
Okay, we'll see you
uh,
next time.